to mind the scripture I mentioned in the last episode from Isaiah 54, verse 2. And this is from the NIV. It says, "Enlarge the place of your tent, stretch your curtains wide, and do not hold back. Lengthen your cords, strengthen your stakes." So as we are faithful in the new things that we're called to do, whether they're big or small, we're experiencing expansion. And here's where we might discover that our progress is feeling slow or perhaps difficult, and that we might be noticing a struggle. And that actually brings me to my devotional Streams in the Desert from a few days ago. There was something in there that I found really helpful, and I'm hoping it will help you too, because even though we are hopefully transitioning out of the wilderness now, that Streams in the Desert still is a very helpful and useful devotional, at least for me. And there was a part in there that seemed particularly highlighted as I was looking at it. And I wanted to share the theme with you and a little bit from the devotional. But the theme was about gentleness of spirit. And the scripture they used was 2 Timothy 2, verse 24, which simply says, "The servant of the Lord must be gentle." Well, I want to say that for me, in the past few days especially, as I've been experiencing more and more of a shift into some bigger challenges in the new activities and in, that I haven't been feeling too gentle. And apparently gentleness is a grace of the Spirit. So as we move into our new promised lands, we seem to need the graces of the Spirit and possibly new graces to do it. And without them, the new challenges we face, even as the Lord has been stretching and preparing us, can bring frustration. And this is where I did find the word from the devotional very, very helpful. So if you've been going through a similar struggle with the challenges of some of the newer activities or projects that the Lord has put on your heart to do, I'm hoping this might help and minister to you as it did for me. But before I read it, I also wanted to say that after coming out of deconstruction, it may have been necessary for God to strip us even of some of the graces that we walked in, because they pertain to the old season and they may not be relevant anymore. So that would mean we need a process to incorporate new graces into our being. So this is where the devotionals seem very, very beneficial, because they talked about a clear process of how God might do that very thing. Okay, so I'm going to finally read it here. This is just an excerpt from the devotional, but this is what it said. When God conquers us and takes all the flint out of our nature, and we get deep visions into the Spirit of Jesus, we then see as never before the great rarity of gentleness of spirit in this dark and unheavenly world. The graces of the Spirit do not settle themselves down upon us by chance, and if we do not discern certain states of grace and choose them, they never become fastened in our nature or behavior. Every advanced step in grace must be preceded by first apprehending it, and then a prayerful resolve to have it. So there is more to that devotional, but that's the part I really felt led to share here. It was very highlighted to me, because as we are hopefully moving into our new promised lands, I'm hoping that this means we will receive new graces, that they will be bestowed upon us, so that we can discern, and that we will be able to discern those new graces and consciously embrace them. And then they can become fastened into our being and into our behavior as well. And I wanted to share this because I feel like I had an experience of this very thing just a few days ago. It was in the morning and I felt really frustrated about something, and then suddenly I discerned and I felt a new grace coming on me. And this is before I read the streams in the desert, and I found myself saying internally to the Lord when it happened, yes, I want that. I want that. And so when I read the Streams in the Desert devotional about this very thing, I felt so amazed and really thankful because it gave me a context for what had happened to me. So I don't know if that's been happening to you, but I wanted to bring it up because, when you enter a new place, it makes a lot of sense. You'd need new things spiritually to be able to function there. So I'm calling those new graces, and they really are if they're coming from the Spirit, grace to help us. So I really do hope and pray that those of you who are listening will experience, if you haven't already, all the new graces that you need to do the things God is calling you to do in your new season.